Man, my hair is amazing. Whatever's left of the Countdown community really seems to like final bosses. I mean, I made a whole video about it, but then again, that video is the peak of my entertainment value, am I right? Anyway, I can definitely see why people love final bosses. They're extreme tests of skills on what you've learned in a game, offer up a different gameplay style that usually works, or just be fun. However, sometimes they cannot be that. They can sometimes kill the whole flow of the game and ruin all the fun you previously had. And I might be saying, and we already know what your least favorite final boss is, so what's the point of even making this list? Well, in 2.5 years, you can play a lot of new and different games that offer other terrible final bosses, so the Mad Doctor fight from Epic Mickey 2 will not be on here. Fault number 6 is something. Also be taking into account how disappointing the fight is when compared to the rest of the game. But consider those to be bonus points in determining how bad the fights are. Wow, you guys watch PBS Kids, this kind of takes me way back. Alright, I don't have any more memes for the moment, so let's begin. Sonic Rush is such a fun game. Fun cannot be said, however, for the bosses. The selection of bosses in this game is honestly pretty weak. With some exceptions, all are pretty annoying and sometimes even recycle ideas from each other. That can't be said for a final boss, which is unique from any other fight in the entire game. However, does that make it good? No, it's bad. Well, mostly bad. In this boss, you fight both versions of Eggman as both Sonic and Blaze in their super forms. I haven't played all Sonic games, so I don't know how good a Super Sonic battle can be, but I have a feeling that this isn't the best. When you're playing as Sonic, you cannot hit Eggman directly. Instead, you have to let him spit out mechanical satellites that shoot out lasers so you can hit him with those. The problem is that hitting him is near impossible as Eggman moves around constantly, the direction in which you send the satellite is always inconsistent, there are several moments where Eggman will fly away from being hit, and you're on a time limit since you're running out of rings because you're supersonic. Good luck getting those rings though, as you'll probably be too busy trying to hit Eggman to collect any. But remember how I said this fight was mostly good? Because the part with Blaze is actually pretty good since you can actually shoot the darn thing yourself and not have to use something else. But it's the Sonic section that really makes me not like this fight. It's since Sonic is pretty much the main character in this game and he's got more focus in this fight, that's not good. Everyone seems to have a grudge against the final boss of Uncharted 1. While I personally don't hate it as much as other people, I still don't like it. The main target in this fight is one of the main villains in the game, Navarro. See the part where I state how forgettable the villains in Drake's Fortune are, but not only do I strive for originality, but I actually remembered Navarro's name, but for some reason not the other guy. Was it Ronan or something? I don't know, I don't care. Either way, this guy is still bland and forgettable, even though I still know his name. Before the fight begins, Elaine is taken by Navarro along with the El Dorado statue to a boat where the fight takes place. Oh yeah, a boat. Maybe we can get some awesome weapons like a harpoon gun, or maybe the boat will leave and we'll also have to battle the raging waters. Oh, you just stay in cover and you take out all the enemies, then he leaves for the next part. Oh, and while you're doing that, he's just behind cover aiming at your head with a super overpowered gun that is in no way cheap and unfair. Oh, and let's add in one random out of nowhere QuickTime event and another QuickTime event right at the end. I also appreciate how the enemies' guns are some of the most powerful in the game, while meanwhile you get whatever gun you save from the last level. The Uncharted series isn't really known for its bosses and villains, but this is bad even by their standards. Thank goodness the second game got the final boss right, and then the third game screwed it up. I don't even know what happens in the fourth game, so yeah, this fight is not that great. Remember how I said long ago that I thought Sly Cooper Thieves in Time was a little weird for me? Well, that was way in the past. Now that I have the console version and not just the Vita, I have way more respect for this game. It's now probably my second favorite Sly game, right behind either Sly 2 or Sly 3. I haven't decided what my favorite Sly game is yet, huh? Besides a couple of missions here and there, everything in Thieves in Time was fun as balls, and the fun kept going for the whole game, even into the end with the final mission. So you know the final boss must be fun, right? Well, no. Most of you might already know why the Le Paradox fight is absolute cancer, but let me explain anyway. Basically, what this boss boils down to is just a bunch of QuickTime events while the entire time machine around you falls apart. And don't think those QuickTime events will be cheap and unfair, just like pretty much any other one. The time between each button press is really freaking large, so you could beat this fight in a little under 5 minutes, ignoring the cutscenes and random platforming segments. What makes this fight even worse is that Le Paradox is totally bland and forgettable as the main villain of the game, and is trash compared to how good the bosses have been up to this point. I've heard people talk crap about this fight before I even played Fuse in Time, and you know what? They're right. They're really, really right. You know, the more that I think about it, most of my gaming library consists of licensed games. Maybe it's because I was really stupid as a kid, I don't know. That doesn't mean they're all bad. Heck, I really enjoy a lot of them. One of my favorites has always been Fairly OddParents' Shadow Showdown. Based on the hit Nickelodeon show that's not SpongeBob, this game is truly a gem that people should notice more. From its cool power-ups to its phenomenal soundtrack, this game truly is a masterpiece for a licensed game. One problem with it, however, is its story, not the characters, the writing, or the ideas it had in general. Those all worked okay. I'll talk about how the game completely wastes the guy the game was named after, the Shadow. Let me explain. The game's story revolves around the fairies losing their magic because the royal jewel was stolen, which gives them their power. The blame gets tossed around from the royal jester, the royal family, and finally, at the very end of the game, the Shadow, who makes his first appearance. Yeah, you heard me right. You don't see the Shadow until the very end of the game. Now, that doesn't automatically make it seem like a bad thing, but when your game is named after the villain himself, it's a pretty bad sign. Well, that's bad, but how's the fight itself? Well, by the time this script gets to about this point, I probably already have beaten the fight. Yeah, this fight is pathetically easy. All you do is press buttons to turn on lights, which gives you an opportunity to hit him, and that's it. You do this 4 times and you win. It doesn't even matter which foot you hit, as hitting one will do the same amount of damage as the other. This boss may have the same problem as the previous one, but I find it even worse with Lithone, as, like I said, since the game is named after him, I would have expected more of a challenging fight. Instead, I got this. Maybe not having magic won't be such a bad thing. You can be a lot less lazy. Since I don't feel like making good games I played in 2016 list, let's just say the best game I played last year was Rayman Legends. It's colorful, it's insane, it's challenging without being too unfair, and it's one of the best experiences I've had with a 2D platformer. That can be said for the bosses, as most of them are fun as heck. Keyword being most, as Hades' hand can go back to where it came from. Personally, this boss is insanely uncreative. For how fun and unique the previous bosses in the game were, I was severely disappointed by this boss's design. I mean, it's just a bunch of tiny organisms forming a huge hand and body. Can't you get any more creative, Ubisoft? Oh, I think I just solved my own problem with that statement. Not only is it uncreative, but the main problem here is how annoying the fight is. You fight in the air for most of it, and you also have long-distance fists that allow you to hit the boss from far away. But the problem is that the hovering mixed with the difficult aiming makes this feel really awkward to play. But get this, that whole problem goes on throughout the whole fight. Add the gliding and awkward aiming together, and you get a fight in which you will die a lot. Oh, and this fight has like 3 phases, so yeah, it goes for a way long time. I will say that the music is pretty dope, and the level following afterwards, Living Dead Party, is my favorite level in the game. But other than that, nothing about this fight is good. It's a chore to play through, it's a weak idea, and it soured what was an otherwise phenomenal game. I'm Alternative Owen, and I apologize that this wasn't the countdown you were looking forward to. However, when life gets you down, get negative. Yeah.
Thank you all, good night. Be good to each other. Have a nice ride home. We'll see you at the coffee shop tomorrow.